And good afternoon, everybody. This is Art Shit. It's time for the show. Let's be reasonable. And of course, we're talking about Joe Biden again today, folks. We're talking about Joe Biden because Forbes wrote an article. They're talking about Joe Biden's net worth. What is he worth, right? So when you look down through the article, guess what? They give the cat away early in this article because they tell you that he has an estimated net worth of $10 million. The majority of that net worth is in real estate, and I think they only said it's like three or four homes, right? So three or four homes. He has a pension, and then he also has some other holdings. They don't really give us any idea what the other holdings are, but note that the other holdings, along with his pension and real estate, come up to an estimated $10 million. So uh, at the end of the day, folks, guess what? I mean, Joe Biden, the middle class kid from Scranton, thinks like a middle class kid from Scranton, right? At the end of the day, he looks just like a majority of middle class Americans. Now, look, I didn't grow up in the middle class. I grew up on the lower end of the economic ladder. All right. Now, my wife and I are solidly, I would think, in the middle class today. So he looks like what I see and have grown to become familiar with as a middle class adult, right? All right. So compare that to a guy like Donald Trump, who is a billionaire, estimation, right? Estimatedly a billionaire. Um, uh, I I can't identify with Donald Trump. There's nothing about Donald Trump that I choose to identify with, right? And I can't see those people who sit around. I mean, the MAGA group. I mean, I don't know what it is that they're really looking for. What is he going to do? Because if you're going to sit around and say that the economy was better during the 4 years that Trump was in office, uh, well, theoretically speaking, I would tell you that the economy was better the 4 years or 8 years that Obama was in office, or the economy that George Bush, W. Bush, inherited from Bill Clinton. Clinton was better than the economy that he gave Obama. So, or you I mean you can play this better game. Better compared to what is the question. So, I mean, when you look at the economy today under the Biden administration, the economy is doing well, right? You know what? And this really begs a question, in my mind. I wonder what would the world be like if Democrat administrations inherited good economies from Republicans. All right. So if you look at the Reagan economy going to the Bush economy, you know, created a disaster, right? That made its way to the Clinton economy, right? Which actually ended on a good note. If you think about wages, if you think about job growth, you think about the .com run up, right? That was great. And then the Bush years take over, and we end up in the financial crisis by the end of his 8 years. We go 8 years with Obama, and by the end of the 8 years, he turns over an economy to Trump. Trump takes credit for everything that happened during the Obama years, right? And claims that he's responsible for the run up that we saw. But the economy had already started to slow down during the Trump administration. So when the COVID happened, I mean, you might say that was the catalyst, but um, it just made it possible for one Joe Biden to pick up an economy and really just rebuild it. So here we are. The economy is rebuilt. I mean, we've gone 4 years, people, without a negative job number. That's huge. Sure, inflation is a little high. I mean, relatively speaking, when you compare the inflation numbers to the Obama administration or to the Trump administration. Sure, relatively more. But you have to remember, Donald Trump is responsible for 8 trillion of that. Joe Biden responsible for 5 trillion of that. We saw interest rates or the inflation tick all the way to 9%. Now it's down to like 3.2%. And I've said this on a number of occasions, getting back to 2%, it's going to be hard. And it's harder because of those tariffs. Those tariffs are a new player in this economy. They haven't been rescinded. I wish the Biden administration had rescinded the tariffs because we would have been able to see the difference. But that was just another way in order to get money from corporations who were planning on keeping it. Anyway, anybody, speaking of this, I mean, I know I'm trying not to get off topic, but I just got to bring this up. You guys remember during 2007, 2008, if you were ever watching CNBC or watching Fox Business or whatever the hell you were watching, right? They were running around talking to you about how all of these companies were hitting their numbers and hey, how they were flush with cash and all the rest of it. 2008 happens, and you know the American people ends up bailing out AIG, bailing out all the banks, bailing out the auto businesses. And I've asked myself two questions over the past years about that whole scenario. Well, if they were flush with cash, why do they need cash infusions from the American people? And if these guys can bankrupt a number of people, why is it that no one ever goes to jail? And I guess here it is, some almost, we're coming up on 20 years later, and I still don't have an answer to those two questions. But anyway, so I digress. Anyway, back to this guy, Joe Biden, and his net worth. Estimated net worth of $10 million. Look, I'm here to tell you this. That's not bad. I mean, and if you think about it from the standpoint of, and I'm not throwing shade, right? But think about it from the standpoint of, let's say, the Clintons, right? So the Clintons arrive in DC as a middle class family. He's a former governor of the state of Arkansas. She's an attorney. They're both attorneys, but they arrive in DC, and by the time they leave after 8 years, right? They have a net worth today that's about $120 million. Right? Think about the Obamas. They arrive in DC at much of the same, a middle class family, right? They're up there for 8 years. And now, I mean, they have deals with Netflix, and they've written books and all the rest. And their net worth is about $70 million. Did I tell you that this guy has a net worth of $10 million according to the Forbes article? I mean, think about Al Gore. Al Gore left the White House as vice president, right? And became a billionaire. Now, Joe Biden, I'm here to tell you, these guys, again, not to throw any shade on the Clintons or the Obamas, because legally they played the game the way it was designed or has been designed to be played. But Biden, here's a guy who doesn't drink. And remember, all pro or all American safety, running back, tailback, halfback. This guy, I never knew that, by the way, until the Howard Stern interview, right? Looks a lot like someone in the middle class, him and Bill Biden, middle class people, worth $10 million. Now, I work in a field where we want people to have about $2 million in retirement in the way of income and in the way of health care, right? Just have $2 million kind of set aside. The fact that he's been in Washington for 50 years and has $10 million set aside, I'd say he's doing okay. But I can also say he hasn't been up there juicing the system. So altruistically, this guy has something in spades that I would say you may question when it comes to Donald Trump. He has character. And for those people who say, well, it's $10 million and, you don't have to report everything. Well, yeah, you do. You do. There's an FCC report. Once you decide to run for office, they want to know where all your money is. So yeah, it's $10 million. I mean, I say this kind of reminds me of Anthony Fauci, how people hate on him. Because, when you look at Anthony Fauci's net worth, it's only like $4 million. I'm here to tell you, Anthony Fauci, Joe Biden, squarely in the middle class. Squarely in the middle class. So they have some holdings that are $4 million and $10 million. Doesn't look like the Obamas, $70 million, or doesn't look like the Clintons, $120 million. And I believe that number is probably down from the high. I think the high was probably like $250 million. But that was the Clinton Foundation, probably. Right. But anyway, my point is this. If Joe Biden is anything, Joe Biden is probably boring. That's it. Sure, I know he's 81 years old, but that's not a knock. I'm glad he's made it to 81. Average life expectancy for any white male is about 76 years old. Average life expectancy for African American men is about 71. So the fact that he's made it to 81, I'm okay with that. The fact that he's made it to 81 and he's still riding the bike, he's looking a little exceptional to me. Right? So there's a lot that you can say. I think people can say negatively or disparagingly about Joe Biden, about being up there for 50 years and this is what you got. And for everybody who sits around and say, yeah, he authored the crime bill. Look, there were like 435 other or members of the House that signed off on it, and another 100 people, 99 people in the Senate. The majority of them signed off on the crime bill too. So it wasn't just him. So when I look at it, I mean, Joe Biden is probably boring, right? But boring is probably what the American people need. I mean, Joe Biden is a lot like the PNC commercial.
You know what's brilliant? Boring. Think about it. Boring is the unsung catalyst for bold.
What straps bold to a rocket and hurtles it into space?
Boring
does.
Great job, Astro Christians. Over.
Boring is the jumping off point for all the unboring things we do.
Boring makes vacations happen, early retirement's possible, and startups start up because it's smart, dependable, and steady. All words you want from your bank. Taking chances.
Smart, dependable, and steady. Remember that. Smart, dependable, and steady. All words you want from your bank, but I'm here to also tell you all words that you want from your elected official. Smart, dependable, and steady. And at the end of the day, think about it, they've had 4 years to try to tar and feather this guy with allegations about being crooked and the rest. Haven't produced anything. Now, they got some stuff on Hunter, and they got some text saying that Hunter was talking about giving 10% to the big guy. And everybody's like, oh, they're giving money to his dad. I'm here to tell you that it probably wasn't going to his dad. Probably wasn't going to his dad, right? Who's the big guy? Come on, people. Like and subscribe. Tell me who's the big guy. The big guy, he's Catholic and devout Catholic. You may say, oh, well, he's not really devout Catholic because he doesn't support, he supports abortion. Look, people can be of the same religion and have different competing thoughts. Trust me. But anyway, he's Catholic, the big guy. It's probably tithing. Hunter was talking about giving money to the church. I don't know if he actually did it, but that would be my rendition of what he meant by the big guy. Anyway, they tried to tar and feather with the issues related to Hunter Biden, but they haven't been able to make anything stick. Joe Biden is just boring, but boring is probably what we need. Boring is safe. So at the end of the day, folks, guess what? I'm done. I'm 15 minutes in. I'm probably 10 minutes longer than what I should be. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden, I mean, look, take this article and then go back and review the Howard Stern interview. I think you probably find some new appreciation for Joe Biden because he's probably more a lot like you and I than Donald Trump ever could be. And remember, Donald Trump said he'd never been in a fight. Joe Biden has. So there's that. So, folks, hey, hope you enjoy the show. Like and subscribe. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me, is boring okay? I think boring is okay. What do you think about being boring? Tell me what your thoughts are. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Talk to you later, folks. Have a good day. See you next time.